Today's reading is from the 5th chapter of Matthew. It's verses 13 through 16. It's on page 786. You are the salt of the earth, but if that salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on a stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven.
The Word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. A man walked into the grocery store and asked, "Do you sell salt?" "Ha!" said the grocer. "Do we sell salt? Just look." The grocer showed the customer an entire wall of shelves stocked with nothing but salt. There was Morton salt, iodized salt, kosher salt, sea salt, rock salt, garlic salt, every kind of salt imaginable. "Wow," said the customer. "You think that's something?" said the grocer. "That's nothing. Come look." And the grocer led the customer to a room filled with more shelves and bins and cartons and barrels and boxes of salt. "Do we sell salt?" said the grocer. "Unbelievable," said the customer. "You think that's something?" said the grocer. "I'll show you salt." And with that, the grocer led the customer down the stairs into a huge basement, 5 times as large as the previous room. It was filled from the floor all the way up to the ceiling with every form of salt imaginable. They even had 10-pound salt licks for cows. "Incredible," said the customer. "You really do sell salt." "That's just the problem," said the grocer. "We never sell salt. But that salt salesman, woohoo, does he sell salt." Salt that stays on the shelf doesn't do any good at all. In explaining discipleship, Jesus uses 2 elements from everyday life to explain his expectations and the results of being a disciple. The first is salt. The second is light. Think of the crowd to whom Jesus was speaking. It wasn't a gathering of the United Nations. It wasn't a conference of superpowers. It wasn't an assembly of government leaders. It was a crowd on a hillside, on a tiny spot of land known as Palestine. It was with a group of common people who had no high ambitions or positions. They couldn't plan their own futures or even determine their own destinies. But Jesus tells them, you can make a difference. You can be salt and light. He says the same to us today. Salt is a mineral that has been used for thousands of years. Archaeologists have found places in Romania where people were boiling water to extract salts, as well as salt works in China that date back thousands of years. Salt was even used as a tradable item for money or monetary compensation. In fact, the English word for salary is derived from the Latin word salarium and refers to the payments made to the Roman soldiers with salt. The phrase, worth their salt, was derived from this very practice. Today, we don't really think much about salt unless we have high blood pressure or we're eating a steak. More often, we think of salt as a condiment that sits on the top of the dining room table or the kitchen table. And almost at every meal, you will hear someone say, "Please pass the salt." Sometimes we see those around us who put salt on their food before they even taste it. We know that too little salt and our food can be underseasoned, and we know that too much can ruin the taste of the food. Chefs on cooking shows judge dishes by whether or not they have enough salt. Such a small substance makes all the difference in the world. Imagine how bland our food would be without salt. Back in the days of Jesus, people thought a lot about salt, placing a great value on this commodity because they were entirely dependent upon it. Jesus used salt to teach a lesson, since everyone listening would have used it, they would have seen it, they would have tasted it, or they would have purchased it. Salt Jesus' day had two primary purposes. First, it was used to preserve food. In an age of no refrigeration, no electricity, and no Kenmore or Whirlpool, people had to preserve meat and other foods with salt. Salt can preserve fish and meat and beans, cabbage, and many other foods. A family in ancient times that had a supply of salt was a family that could provide for meals long after unsalted food would go bad. Secondly, salt was used to purify. It seemed that salt was used when a baby was born to keep the baby healthy. How valuable is salt? Thousands of Napoleon's troops died during his retreat from Moscow because their wounds would not heal. They lacked salt. The human body contains about 4 ounces of salt. Without enough of it, muscles won't contract, blood won't circulate, food won't digest, and the heart won't beat. Without a doubt, salt is the essence of life. And Jesus said, "You are the salt of the earth." Jesus didn't say that we are the sugar or the honey, but that we are the salt. So when Jesus likened his disciples to salt, he meant that we are one of the most highly prized and valuable groups of people in the world. Salt creates thirst. No big surprise there. If you've ever eaten anything salty, you know what I mean. Like salt, we should promote a thirst for Jesus in our lives. Jesus is the living water that leads to everlasting life. We, as salt of the earth, should be creating that thirst within others for Christ. Salt changes things. A little salt can flavor a big pot of beans. It only takes salt to flavor the whole community, the whole neighborhood, or the whole workplace. There's a sign in Vienna, Austria that reads, "Welcome to Vienna, where the salt is in the salt shaker." Think about that. The salt is in the salt shaker. The salt is no good if it never leaves the salt shaker. It's only the decoration on the kitchen table. The church is the salt of the earth. But we do no good if we stay in the salt shaker. Kind of like that story about the grocer who had all the salt sitting on the shelf in his store. In the church, nobody likes salt in the shaker, but almost everyone likes salt that is shaken, sprinkled into their life at just the right time and just the right amount to give the right flavor to the moment. What do we need to do to increase our saltiness? We deny the salt function when we fail to be kind or merciful or peacemakers. To deny the salt function is to deny the principles of the kingdom of God. We are not to draw away from society, but we are to live in the world. Jesus didn't say we might be the salt of the earth. He didn't say we ought to be the salt of the earth, but that we are the salt of the earth. Jesus knew that true salt never loses its saltiness. Jesus reminds us to live salty lives. Salty Christians, it almost sounds like we're serving up fish and chips. Salty Christians, Jesus tells us emphatically, are much preferred over the salt-free variety. We need that reminder because, well, let's face it, sometimes we don't seem too salty. Sometimes we're not too flavorful to others. It's like the bumper sticker that I saw the other day that said, "Jesus, save me from your followers." Evidently, that car driver had run into too many Christians who had lost their salt. How salty have you been lately? Salt and light. 2 bone-weary public servants were working their hearts out, and the department was just too busy for the staff to take time off. But there had to be a way, there just had to be a way. So one of the 2 public servants suddenly looked around. The director was nowhere in sight. So one of the weary public servants jumped up on his desk, he kicked out a couple of the ceiling lights, and then began swinging his legs over the metal pipe, and he hung upside down. The director emerged from the office, saw the worker hanging upside down, but from the pipe in the ceiling and asked him what on earth he thought he was doing. "I'm a light bulb," answered the public servant. "I think you need some time off," said the director. "Matter of fact, why don't you just get out of here? That's an order. I don't want to see you back for at least 2 days. You understand me?" "Yes, sir," the public servant answered meekly, jumped down, logged off of his computer, and left. The second worker was hot on his trail, headed out the door as well. "Wait a minute," said the director. "Where do you think you're going?" "Home," said the second worker. "I can't work in the dark." We all start out in the darkness. The darkness can be a scary place. Have you ever been somewhere where you literally could not see your hand in front of your face, where the darkness was so thick that you could actually feel it? The dark is a place where bad things often happen. In the darkness, we stumble and trip over things. In the darkness, an attacker can easily hide and pounce on us. It's probably been 25 years ago. But it was on a Friday night after going to the movies with my teacher colleagues and friends. I was accosted at gunpoint in my apartment complex. I remember hearing running footsteps in the dark. And I remember a still small voice saying to me, "Turn around and face what's coming." We all need light to navigate at night or in the dark. Otherwise, we'll be running into something and stub our toe, and then we'll wail in total agony. It's in the darkness that we are vulnerable. Light exposes hidden dangers. No one ever says, "I'm afraid of the light." True light cannot be hidden. Jesus says when the light is shining, people will see. If one has true light, it cannot be hidden. The lights that would have been used in those times in Israel at that time would have been a small lamp, about the size of your palm. And they would sit it on a stand so it would maximize its effort. Remember when you were a small child, or remember when your children were young and you put the night light in their room? You didn't put the night light in the drawer and shut it. You put it on top of the dresser so that it would provide light into the darkness. True light should not be hidden. When we let our light shine, we glorify our Creator God. If we've even the least little bit of light, darkness is forced to flee. Remember that song, "This Little Light of Mine? I'm going to let it shine"? Jesus is, of course, the light of the world. He is the light who shines in the darkness and gives us light and life. But having received the light of Christ, it's our calling to reflect, to radiate that light out to others and to the world. Let's not shy away from it. God intends for us to shine out into the world. Let the world know what gives you life. The good news of Jesus Christ isn't just for you, it's good for everyone. With family, with friends, with colleagues, with neighbors, we have an opportunity to spread the light, like the lamp shining in the room. God has designed us, God has equipped us to let Christ shine in us and through us, in spite of us. You are the light of the world. That is who you are. That is who and what TLCC is. Jesus makes it so. So let's embrace our identity as disciples. Both salt and light are worthless if they are saltless or hidden from view. Which do our lives say? I testify to my faith in God by the way I live, or I don't have anything to say. Have we neglected to be salt and light in the world? As a child, Robert Louis Stevenson was in very poor health. One night when he was quite sick, his nurse found him with his nose pressed against the window pane in his bedroom. "Come away from the window," his nurse said, "because you'll become even more ill." But young Robert, he wouldn't budge, and so he sat and he watched out the window as the old lamplighter slowly worked his way through the night, lighting each street lamp during his route. "Look," Robert said, pointing to the man, "there's a man poking a hole in the darkness." That's what we're called to do, is to poke a hole in the darkness. We are called to be salt, seasoning, and light bearers in the world. The Christian seasoning is something to be tasted. The Christian's light is something to be seen. Our Christianity should be vibrant, it should be visible. Wait a second, you may be saying. Surely, God did not mean me. Yes, God meant for you, and 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 for me, for all of us. We aren't called to save the world, but we're called to make a difference. We can't do everything, but we can do something. And what we can do, we should do, we ought to do. That's what being salt and light is all about. We are living a gospel, a chapter each day, by deeds that we do, by words that we say. People read what we live, whether we are faithless or true. So take a moment right now. Think about being salt and light. What is it saying according to you? Amen and amen.